Mass Effect is different because Firewatch is you're playing as you're inside the mind of a specific character that's set in stone, their personality, how they act, stuff like that. I think the difference is Mass Effect, and the reason why everybody was outraged about Mass Effect is you embody the persona. So you become Shepard, which is like your skin color, the way you look, the way you interact, if you're a good guy, you're a bad guy, who you like, who you hate. Like those choices you become the character. And like that's why, and I agree, and that's why I'll defend the people who got like really upset by the ending, is that like people don't understand when you play a game like that and then you play a game where you're playing as a set like for example.
I'm not going.
I understand why people got upset. I didn't understand, like, because I remember they were getting, like, some of the BioWare developers and like the community managers were getting death threats. That's the shit I was talking about.
People overreacting. They did the same to No Man's Sky. They do that.
That's the stuff I was like, that shit's lame.
But I'd say the thing that people didn't, I think a lot outside of the Mass Effect community, when they thought they were acting like a bunch of crybabies because the ending didn't go the way they wanted to, and they try to compare like, Fallout 3 didn't do good. But I was like, a lot of people didn't understand that it's different when the game pretty much you feel like you are a part of the game, that you embody someone, you are that character.
I can only speak for my my personal distaste.
I'm agreeing with you. And I'm agreeing with you.
Comes specifically from the fact of I did all this stuff and made all these choices over the span of 3 games with my original save file over all these years.
Right.
Just for it to come down and not matter pretty much to one choice.
Right. And you know what? For a long
it doesn't matter what you did all the way up until that until that place. Like, and
choices didn't mean anything.
That's where The Witcher makes more sense. The Witcher, what you actually did in the beginning, omits some choices, changes some things, changes the way certain endings play out. Whereas in Mass Effect, it was literally just like, it doesn't matter. You're literally just bullshitting this whole time, and then at the end, this nigga's like, I'm gonna give you 2 choices, and if you do something else, a 3rd.
It's like the concept that movies do, where it's like, the ending is you wake up and you realize everything that you just went through was a dream. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, it was a waste of time. It
was pointless. Exactly.
Right.
And people argued, it's not about the ending, it's about the journey. And I'm like, no. Like, I did thoroughly enjoy the journey of Mass Effect, but I just feel like the ending, like, if the ending was stronger, it would have tied it all up with a bow and made it one of the best games, like best trilogies ever.
Of all time. I still think it's one of the best trilogies of all time. I think much like,
but it also makes it very hard for me. While I do recommend Mass Effect to everyone, at the same time I always have this thing in the back of my head that it makes it a little harder.
They won't know.
It makes it a little harder for me to recommend it to somebody, because it's like everything you're doing is kind of pointless.
But I think that's the whole idea of the journey, right? This is why I disagree with that. And believe it or not, it's because of TBH. That's how I found TBH through his Mass Effect review, and I told him multiple times, I was like, you changed my opinion on the endings, because he said at the end of his review, check it out if you haven't, but at the end of his review, he said, I know a lot of people are upset about the endings as 3 colors, all this bullshit, and he said, like, I don't think he was trying to be profound, but he actually like hit a chord with me. He said, but he's like, one thing that you have to learn in life is sometimes you can do everything right, in life, but life will never, like, that's not how life works. Like, life will not, because you do
that's
everything
what I got
right,
out of it.
do stuff right, and in the end, you could do everything possible, and in the end, it still won't get it. You still won't.
Some things are just out of your control.
Out of your control. And I was like,
that's interesting.
And I thought about that, and I was like, shit. I was like, holy shit. And then, like, when I watched it, after watching that, I was like, I changed my opinion. I was like, I agree with what he said. I was like, that's some real shit. And then I also thought of it as, and it kind of reaffirmed it for me after I beat Hunter x Hunter, because Hunter x Hunter's ending is basically like Mass Effect. It's like massive. It's basically the idea of should never rush towards the ending. It's not about the destination. It's about the experiences and the people you brought along with that journey through those trials and obstacles that got you there. It's those moments. It's those small moments that truly are the best moments. That's what Gone's father told him. And I was like, when I watched it, like, that's why that shit really got to me, because I was like, that's Mass Effect. Like, that embodied the whole, like, my whole feeling. So, like, I agree with you. Like, it's hard to recommend it, but I feel like you got to tell them that.
They should have. I think they should have explained
that should have been what the
better.
I agree.
If they had, because the way that I feel like the presentation that was incorrect because if they had explained that the way that you just explained it to me, but obviously through a narrative way, you would have changed your mind. I would have been like, wow, that's actually really powerful.
I think what helped me come to that conclusion is because when Mass Effect 3 came out, I was in college, and I remember, like, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't have a lot of money in my bank account. I spent my last $60 on that game. I was starving, and I wanted to play this shit. I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get it. Yo, I guess I'm gonna ask somebody else to buy one of my friends to buy me something to eat or whatever for the next week until I get some more money. And I wasn't too heavy into internet culture at that time. So it was like I just played games and I enjoyed them for myself, which is one thing I think people don't do these days. But
exactly.
What's the name? So like once I finished it and I came to that conclusion that I was like, you can't control everything. I get on the internet and I see everybody's just so upset about this shit. And I think my perspective was different just because at that time I was legitimately starving. There was days where I went without food. And it's like when that type of stuff is on your mind, when you're just legitimately trying to survive because you're just that broke. It's like it's like I don't give a fuck what the internet has to say. It's like you niggas is nerds to me, bro. It's not that serious. I understand. I understand that it's not what you want it to be, but at the end of the day, it's just a fucking video game, bro. It's just a video game.
I feel that.
It's real life shit going on here.
That. I can wholeheartedly respect that.
So I think I was just in a different space at that time. But if all you do is you're just a neckbeard faggot who sits on the computer all day, who doesn't have a job or school, you don't do anything productive, then yeah, I can understand why you threw a hissy fit about the ending.
You know, it's crazy too because when I'll never forget when I first beat the game, I wasn't initially upset. I actually was just like kind of curious. I was like, did I miss something?
I wasn't upset either. I just thought about it. I literally sat there, I just lied in my bed and thought about it.
Yeah, I'll never forget. I was sitting down in my chair in my old house, and like, I beat the game, and I was like, okay, huh. Like, I was just trying to make sense of it because, you know, it's a powerful moment when you get to the end of a trilogy that you've been a part of for you know, 5+
You got to remember how many years it's been.
Exactly.
Everybody went through that trilogy. It wasn't like a two like
I wasn't.
Yeah. But I completely understand y'all. But I just think I'm an asshole. I think I'm just an asshole. That's all it is.
I'm saying I wasn't upset.
I agree with both sides.
I was literally just sitting there trying to ponder like what I had just witnessed because I thought that I missed out on something. And since I beat the game so fast. Right. Obviously, this was before YouTube culture where niggas had reviews up like the day before the album. The day before the game comes out. You know what I'm saying? So this was like the game would come out and you gotta wait like a week or at least like fucking 3 to 5 days for like IGN to put their review out type shit.
But you know the funny thing is, IGN had the review for Mass Effect 3 out before the game came out.
They didn't say anything. I think that's what added fuel to the fire. They didn't say nothing about the ending.
That's why a lot of people got shit. That's why the shitstorm got big because none of the major publishers brought up the endings at all. And when initial people beat the game, they were like, yo, something's wrong with the ending. Like, the ending does not make fucking sense. And then I remember I was 3/4 through the game and I started hearing rumors on Facebook and my friends who were also playing Mass Effect were like, yo, have you been like check the internet? I was like, what about? It was like, I'm seeing a lot of people talking about like how the ending is shit, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear none of that. I want to get to
that's why I beat it first because I was like, I don't even want to be on the internet. Like, I literally just want to experience this myself, and then like I'll wait for everyone else to catch up to me for me to have the conversation.
Exactly. And that was the thing. Like, I remember, I'll never forget what happened. Before the game came out, I saw IGN's review and I was like scared shitless. And I read the entire fucking review. It was at least 4 pages long. If this was back when they actually did fucking in-depth reviews. And I read every single aspect and I just kept reading it. And it was just good thing after good thing after good thing after good thing after good thing. And they were like, yeah, this is like the best Mass Effect. It is the culmination of the best parts of 1 and 2. And I was like, I'm fucking sold. I was like, yes. It is. In a lot of aspects, it takes the best aspects of 1 and 2. It removes some stuff, some complexity from 1, but for the most part, it did a great job with the squad play and combat of 2. It made it better, and then
it made the customization way more because in 2 customization was lacking hard.
Bad. Yeah, and it took the customization stuff from 1. So like Mass Effect 3, like in my opinion, like I told you, I was like, Mass Effect 3 is my favorite. Like I will always. I know a lot of people will like go, what are you talking? Like,
it was far more fluid. The story was great,
but. 3 made me cry. I will not lie. Same. I will never lie to somebody. I cried. 3 made me cry multiple times. And for a video game to do that shit to me, only 2 games have done that shit to me. Mass Effect 3 and Walking Dead. Those are the only 2 games that made me tear up, period. So like, and I don't tear up on a lot of like because like you said, it's just a fucking video game. But like,
right,
I guess because the connection was so fucking good, like,
right,
I felt really fucking bad when
like
the
I
shit hit
said,
the fan.
that I also believe that's a culmination of why people got so upset because
exactly, it was an emotional response.
They've been so connected to these characters for so long that it's like. Because like because I'll tell you, like my favorite characters were Thane and Legion. So Mass Effect 3 fucked me up.
I'm so sorry for you, bro. That would have destroyed me if I
especially because I was one of the first people who discovered that Legion becomes sentient before he dies.
Right.
And like that really was like, oh my god, bro. Like,
and then he dies right when he has.
Like I'm sitting here listening to y'all talking. It's just like. I don't know. To me, at the end of the day, it's just a video game. Well, I just had like an epiphany. I just had an epiphany because like this affects me in a lot of different ways. Like because my dad was in the military and I would move around like every couple years. I never really got attached to much because I always understood that this shit wasn't in my control
forever.
Yeah. So I think that's why I don't get
Holy
mad.
Shit, we are getting deep as fuck.
I think that's why I don't get mad. I didn't get mad at the Mass Effect 3's ending because I had already understood that at a young age. It's like there's some things you just can't control. So it's like at the end of the day, it's like go outside, bro. Like, do you niggas have friends? Like, it's okay, bro. Like even when we play Paragon, we play MOBA. Like that's the maddest you'll see me get playing a video game. And even when I'm getting mad at Ace, I just put my mic up and I don't say nothing. Because at the end of the day, even if I know I'm mad, I understand it's a video game and it's not no reason to be talking to nobody sideways.
Yeah, right. It's a virtual thing. Yeah, but that makes sense. I think it's like you said. It depends on the person.
It depends on your upbringing.
I don't know what the upbringing was for all of us. Like you said, TBA. It's like mine was like I didn't move everywhere. Like for the most part, like I was more situated. and I had more like stable friends and a more stable upbringing.
So you're more prone to getting attached to things,
right? Because I had more closer friends when I was growing up. I actually had that. Actually, believe it or not, I'll say it. I think when Mass Effect 1 came out. Yeah, when Mass Effect 1 came out, I moved to it was like 7th grade, I think. I can't remember. It was something like that. And I moved to a new school, and I didn't have any friends. Like low-key, yeah, I had no friends because it was like a weird year to move to a different school. Everybody's already friends with everybody and already groups and cliques and shit. And I think at that time, like it was like I just stayed to myself. I was just like, I'm a black kid, and at the time, that school that I was in, like I was a really bad minority. Like there was maybe 3% of the school was black, and like most of them were like white. So like I think in that experience and then that environment, I was just like fuck this shit. Like I don't give a fuck about any of these people. Like, and so I stayed to myself, and that could have been maybe what other people was like. But Mass Effect gave that sort of, I guess, grounded relationship with people over the times. Like, you're this space hero, and and all these people like you per se, or look to you as a leader. And so I think like that, that's just for me, like that shaped who I was, especially like in my early teen years. Like that's what what it meant to be a leader, which is why I find funny when people try to tell me Infinite Warfare's whatever. I'm just going off a tangent. But I feel like Mass Effect is the quintessential experience of becoming a leader and understanding the sacrifices that come with leading, and it's not easy. Period.
Because even though
I just like punching niggas in the face.
See, but that's the difference. Yeah,
I like punching the reporter in the face.
Yeah, you like punching. I mean, I punched the shit out of the reporter too. Like she was a hoe.
Bitch, quit asking me questions.
But I think it's different for different people about why they're playing the game and like what the game does for them, which is what makes video games just so fucking great. It does
because I didn't like Caden at all. I didn't talk to.
Nobody likes Caden. I think everybody.
Only girls like Caden. Only girls.
Believe it or not, when it came time for me to actually kill him, I actually sat and pondered on the decision. Like, don't make me do this, because I was like, okay, at least since everybody's kind of bringing up their upbringing, with me, video games always were kind of an escape from my like.
The chaos.
The chaos of my life, just where I can literally, because like my brother is like super outgoing and like talkative and shit like that. Like I was the one who just likes to be isolated. Like I just love isolation. Like I just like leave me alone. Let me just chill and watch TV or like play games or whatever. Like I don't really do much. So for me, like when I would play a story-driven game, I would get really, really into it. So even though I didn't like Caden at all, never brought him on missions or anything like that, when it came down to it, I was like, I'm still sacrificing this man's life. And I sat there and I thought about it, and I really do remember thinking about it. I was like, damn, like, I should have gotten to know this nigga. Maybe I wouldn't. I mean, this decision would have been harder, but like, it's like your captain doesn't give a fuck about you. I'm about to sacrifice you. Yeah, like I'm about to
realize that it was an easy choice because you realize like, wow, I didn't. It's like when parents realize when they're like one day they look at their child and they're like, holy shit, like they grew up right in front of my eyes and I never spent all that time trying to know them. It's like that, and then you're just like, wow, like all this time passed and I didn't once like ask you, you know, what do you like? And I agree. Like now that I think about it in retrospect, I don't know what Caden liked as a human being. Like I don't know what his things he liked.
I know so much about all these other characters, but I killed Caden in the beginning of Mass Effect 1.
And he'll never be back again.
I mean, and it's funny because I think about that, but there's one thing we can all agree on: nobody gives a fuck about Johnson.
Who is Johnson?
That's the nigga who gets shot in the very fucking.
Jenkins.
You're talking about the Turian? The Turian?
No. Jenkins was like your squad mate before Ashley shows up and he gets murked and then you're like,
oh yeah, and then she appears.
And he looked up to you. He was like, I'm a big fan of yours, Commander Shepard. Yeah, that guy.
No, not
this nigga pulling the characters out.
No, I know you're not Werner. Yeah, that's not Werner. I'm talking about like he's like, you know, he's just giddy to get out there and start shooting stuff, and he gets killed.
Oh yeah, he gets fucking killed immediately. Yeah, he gets fucking lit the fuck.
You could be savage. You'd be like, no burial for that nigga.
The dude who wants to play soldier but was really a bitch.
Exactly.
That shit was mad funny too, because like I remember replaying it and like seeing what Renegade was like, and he was like, yeah, we don't have time for this nigga. And then we just keep moving. I was like, God damn, boy.
Yeah. But I think I had the polar opposite because I remember in my first playthrough, I got into a situation where I had to kill Rex off my first game because
same.
I fucked up. I didn't know charm or the charisma was worth shit. I was busy like up in my tech and I was like, I don't need this charisma shit. And then I was like, oh my God, I just killed a teammate because I didn't have enough charisma. Like I couldn't talk him out of it. And that shit was hard as fuck because like I loved Rex and to shoot him I refused to shoot him. I was like, I'm not. Ashley shot her. And I swear to, after that moment, that's why I told you from this day, like I hate that bitch. I will never forgive her for that shit she was a racist. I was like, she was a racist, and she just
she's and she is racist. I was like, that is
she is racist.
Literally racist.
She literally hates their race, but. And then you get in the backstory about the reasoning. This is her father and the Turing Wars, which I'm mad they should have done. The next game would have been cool if it was a prequel with Anders and her father and shit. That's something I hope they expand on the Turing Wars because that sounds like some savage ass shit happened.
I feel like some savage shit happened back in the day, but here's the thing. I don't know how gameplay would work because that was like a long time ago before like where they were at
Battlefield 1.
Mass Effect 1. Yeah. But I don't know. Mass Effect, I think that's also the sign of a great game because we all have so many different stories and opinions and like thoughts on it. And that's why we get so excited about it. And that also kind of leads into why I really do want to believe heavily in Star Citizen because I truly believe if they deliver upon what they have promised, it will be changing for gaming, period. Like it'll set a new standard of like, I will not accept quality that is not like this because it's like
it's the Witcher 3 effect. It's like once you play The Witcher and you actually see like when you play a game that's good like The Witcher over the past years, like Mass Effect.
When you play a game where you can tell they actually tried, it's like, nah, I don't want to play that.
You put your bar up. Yeah, and that's how I feel like I've been feeling like about Final Fantasy. It's like Final Fantasy is like it seems like a good game, but it's like I played The Witcher, and I like and like that literally is my bar for next.
And I have to hold the standard.
And Andromeda will be at that.
And
bar.
This goes back to my original argument at the start of this conversation. The reason so many people love Uncharted is because the average Uncharted player don't play games, bro.
So their bar is low.
Their bar is low. 2K, Madden, Call of Duty every year. So when something like that comes along. And like to be real, the Uncharted franchise has amazing animations. It's absolutely gorgeous. Has great voice acting. I'm not taking that away, but great voice acting. But that eye candy has them like has them delusional because they has mesmerized because they haven't tried anything else. Like,
and the funny thing is, we've seen it TV because I remember there was somebody who was a Mass Effect fan or Uncharted fan. Was it Decepticon? It could have been Decepticon. I think I can't. It was him or someone else. But they tweeted us and they said, you know, you guys really praise Mass Effect. You know, because we were talking about Mass Effect when we were talking about Uncharted. And it was like, should I try it out? And I was like, yeah, try it. And then I remember it was like a month or two later, he tweeted me and he said, you know, you were right. Like, I never played a Mass Effect game before. And like, I really thought Uncharted was like the best that gaming had out there. And then it's like, I played it and I realized it. And he was like, I realized that, wow, there's better stuff out.
Yeah, off the rip, you cannot make the argument to me the Uncharted is the greatest game if you've never played a game where it gives you choice and it's fully voice acted. And it completely changes the dynamic.
And the story dynamically changes.
Right. It's like, what are you talking about? It's a different level of effort.
And I understand it's somewhat not fair to compare a linear game with a game that's open-ended.
But we don't do that. They do that.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you have to think, like I said, I brought this up last time we were talking about Mass Effect. The first thing that I noticed that I was like, wow, I am super impressed by this is if you go in the codex and nobody goes through the fucking codex and reads that text, everything is fully voice read. Everything.
Oh, really?
If you click on something, like there's a nigga who will be like, the Solarians were established and blah blah blah.
I remember that. Yeah.
The whole shit.
Wow.
I feel like
the whole codex. Like,
I feel like the real
thousands of lines.
The real test for Uncharted is like that conversation we had like a few days ago when we were playing Titanfall and we was talking about what's a good story. And Ethos said, explain Gears of War 2. You said it was a good story. He said, explain it, and you couldn't. Like, that was the real test. Maybe the story wasn't as great as you thought it was. I think, like, 10 years from now with Uncharted, that'll be the real test. Oh, what was the story? Yeah, explain Uncharted to me. They're going to be like,
Right. And this goes even further into, I remember you and me, TBH, we had that conversation about what makes a classic game. And because we were dealing with people saying Uncharted's a classic, and we were like, and some other games were classics. And I was like, and we were talking about Zelda as well, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. It was like, the difference I feel, and I think you agreed too, was like, a classic game is a game that no matter what time, what year, whatever it is, right, you can pick it up and you can still play, and it will feel great regardless of that. Like,
right.
And that's the thing, like, there can be archaic design and stuff like that goes on, but to play it still, and it still just feels great, that's when you know you have a classic on your hand. Like, you can always play Ocarina of Time, no matter what.
And that's what I was saying. I was like, I could tell you the time when I was fucking...
always feels
and that was like fucking almost 20 years ago, and I could tell you when I was playing that shit as a kid, and I fucking went into the water temple, and I had to fight Dark Link. I almost killed myself. I almost shot myself, bro. That shit was fucking insane, dude.
Exactly. You remember that shit. Like, Mass Effect, I remember everything vividly. I will never forget any of the main missions I did. I will never forget. I can recall mission for mission. I can recall most of the time lines that I remember certain characters saying because it's that damn memorable. That's why I think that's why I always say separately. I don't think the games are classic. Like Mass Effect 1, while some people will argue it's a classic, I'll say because of the combat stuff like
Mass
that.
Effect 1, but
it's impossible. Yeah, it's impossible.
What class did you play in Mass Effect 1?
I actually played Soldier.
I played the Vanguard.
I thought Mass Effect 1 was a classic. I played Adept, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Do you remember the frame rate when you fire off a biotic? You know how that shit hits the tank
frame rate. Yeah.
I don't remember that. Maybe it was like that, but I don't remember.
It was on the 360.
Here's the thing. Yeah, exactly.
I played on 360.
But it was horrible. I actually didn't notice that because like this was before I knew about frame rate and resolution.
Right. You thought it was lag. Yeah.
It was just like, I was kind of like, why does the game look kind of choppy like this? Whatever. Like, I thought it was like film grain because like the game did have a film grain option, and I turned that shit off. Right. Because I was like, this looks stupid.
Movie shit.
Yeah. But like, besides that, I was just like, oh, like, because like when I got Mass Effect when I first got my Xbox 360, and I was broke, so I had to get an Xbox 360 arcade when it was like $200, and I'd like traded in so much shit, like, and I had to have help for like Christmas and shit like that too. But I remember getting Mass Effect and playing that shit, and before that, all I knew was like PS2 games like Killzone. So for me, like, I'm seeing these graphics, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, holy shit.
So like I didn't know shit about, to be honest, like being 100% with you, I didn't know about frame rate till I came to PC.
A lot of people don't.
Like Like
I knew about frame rate, but I didn't really care too much until I started gaming on PC, and you got used to 60 FPS, and then I go back and play on console. Like I remember the first time I put Mass Effect back into my 360. I said, it's like you legit see the